matter of the people of the state of California versus Orenthal James Simpson, case number BA096.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Taylor, we're here, and we should do an intro because you have some crazy stuff to tell me.
Oh my God, do I have a crazy fucking story to tell you. Welcome to Doomed to Fail. We're the podcast that brings you history's most notorious disasters and epic failures twice a week, every week. I am Taylor, joined as always by Fars. And oh my goodness. So Fars, you're in Texas.
It's true.
This is not, it's just whatever. I'm in Joshua Tree. Did you see the news of what happened here this weekend?
No.
Okay, we had a wild fucking going into the weekend. So Friday, it rains. It's not really part of the story, but like torrential downpours. And I do the thing that I do, like the California thing, where I stand outside and stare at it, and I'm like, "What is this?"
I love it. Yeah.
I'm like, is there water coming from the sky? Like it's thundering, and I'm like, "What is that noise?" Like I've never heard thunder before.
Taylor, my Twitter profile picture is a picture of me, Thomas, and Ryan
Uh-huh.
in LA looking out the window of
Oh
our
yeah, yeah, yeah.
office because it
At
was
the
raining
rain.
that day.
You can't stop staring at it. You're like, "What is this?" It says, "What's happening?" So anyway, the rain stopped. There were puddles. Everything was fine. So at 3:30 in the morning, my husband says, Taylor, there's gunshots. There's gunshots. Wake up." I live in the middle of fucking nowhere. I live on the top of a hill next to a mountain. Across, it's hard to explain, but behind my house goes down and then back up another mountain. On
Okay.
the top of that other mountain that I can like see from my house is a house. That house is by itself, and it has the longest, steepest driveway I've ever seen that goes all the way down. And I can see that house really clearly from my house, even though it's like pretty far away. So it's 3:30 in the morning, and there are like a dozen cop cars at this house across the backyard. They are zooming up the big driveway. There's sirens on. All these things are happening. Juan swears he heard gunshots. We're just staring at it, and the cop cars like keep coming, keep coming. We're like, is someone in the house like shooting someone? Like, what is going on? And then so we like make sure all our doors are locked, make sure that our cameras are on. And then in the morning, here's what happened. This guy, they, I don't know what happened. I don't know why they chased him, but they chased him from Riverside, which is like 100 miles away,
Yeah.
like so far away from me. They chased him all the way from Riverside into Joshua Tree. So this person, this like 20-year-old dude, I don't know. I don't know if he stole a car. I know nothing. But they had like a chase all the way through the mountains into Joshua Tree. He gets into this neighborhood and he goes up this driveway that I'm sure he thought was a street, and then he's at a dead end. So he gets out of the car at 3:30 in the morning, starts shooting at the police. No one got hurt. That's what Juan heard and woke him up. And then the guy goes down and he went not in our direction, he went in the other direction and he disappeared into the neighborhood. They found him 12 hours later, like a couple blocks from us, just walking around. I heard a
Crazy.
rumor that he was in an Airbnb and that he had like fallen asleep and there was like a family there that didn't speak English and they called the police. But I don't know if that's true. But I do know that people had pictures of him like walking around the streets because our whole neighborhood was on lockdown. And we left and they had like searched our cars on the way out. It was wild.
Man, I miss California.
There's
I
so many
do
car
miss
chases
California.
here.
So many
I
car
never thought there'd
chases.
be one here. This isn't really a car chase place.
Joshua
It's hard
Tree's
to
a
get
weird,
here
yeah, that's that one. I mean, I would be, yeah. Yeah, I mean, when we used to live in LA though, like that was
all the time.
all the time. All the
It's
time
like
there's
we
a car
watched them on
chase.
TV all the time. Like
You'd stop
on,
what you're doing and watch TV and you watch the car chase. Yeah.
yeah.
Or the
Gosh,
best was when the helicopters were overheading, like, all right, who is it? Who is it? Where's the floodlight pointing?
exactly. Those are constantly. Yeah, it's an hour and 13 minutes between like Riverside and where I am. Like, and
Yeah,
you have
yeah.
to go through,
Riverside's like that's more LA. Like it's not
yeah,
LA, but it's like more LA.
you have to go through the mountains, which is really wild.
Sorry, what
So
was he accused of doing? Stealing a car?
I don't know.
There's
I don't
no
know
way
why
he
they were
stole a
chasing.
car and shot at police. Like you don't shoot at police for a
No, I
stole.
don't know what he did. No, I don't know. Like, I know that he abandoned the car at the house that's like I can see from my house because he had nowhere left to go. But I don't know if it was his car. I have no idea. I don't know what he did and why they chased him. But the pictures of him walking around, he's like a very little guy, and he's just like walking around. It's like, what are you gonna do? Like, there's nowhere to go. Like, you can't walk out of Joshua Tree. You'll die
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
desert, you know? So yeah, it was wild. Everybody was very relieved when he was caught, so we could move on with our day.
I
But
mean, it is like
even
I've
bigger.
had this thought. I don't know why I'm saying this out loud, but I don't own a gun. Mostly because I have Luna, and Luna's just like, I mean, anybody who sees her is like, I don't need to be here, you know?
Hmm.
Um, but I've thought I should probably get a gun because if a situation were to arise when it was like I literally had no other choice but to use it, I'd want to know that I have the choice, you know?
Hmm.
And this guy apparently had a gun. Y'all
Well,
might
yeah,
want to get a gun.
he for sure had a gun. I don't need a gun. I'm not gonna shoot my gun across like, I don't know. I can't do distance really far away across a mountain and possibly hit a guy when cops are next to him. No.
So here's also the other thing that I kind of love about Texas is the concept of, the mutual assured destruction piece where you kind of almost don't need a gun because everybody assumes you already have one,
Mm.
you
Hmm.
know?
Hmm. My dad always talks about how in Florida there, like, there's a guy he knows who's a pizza cook, and he has a gun in his holster while he's cooking pizzas at a restaurant. And you're like, it's dangerous. It's like you should be around all that heat. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
That's scary though. Yeah,
it
that's
was
nuts.
scary. Juan was like, I texted my neighbor, and she was like, I didn't wake up, my daughter did. But like, it's a weird thing because you're like, where could that possibly be coming from? There's like very little things around here.
Yeah.
Very few things around here.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
Well, wild stuff,
it was
wild stories.
wild. It was a
Uh,
wild Friday night, Saturday.
I didn't have as eventful of a weekend as you did, thankfully.
Mm, good,
So,
good. I'm glad.
um, cool. Well, should we dive in?
Yes.
Are you emotionally and
Do I look very pink? I scratched myself a long time ago, and then I was working on something that was kind of rusty, and then it started bleeding again. But like, I don't think it hit the rust, but I'm not sure. How would I know if I had tetanus? I've been looking it up, but now I feel like I look very pink.
I don't think you look pinker than normal, but I feel like I look brighter than normal, and I don't know if it has to do with the screens or what.
This isn't about you, Vars. This is about my possible tetanus.
Sorry. Of course, I make everything about me. Okay. So Taylor, you're gonna have to help me come up with the. So I'm gonna tell us a story that is
Wait,
very
don't I go
cool.
first today?
Oh shit, do you?
You can go if you want to, if you're already in a role.
I'm in a mood.
Go. You go.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I'm
Doesn't
excited
matter.
about this story because
I
this
don't care.
story I can't believe that this is unknown and I've never heard of it. It's one of those.
Good, because my only caveat to me going first was I was gonna mention that I hope you're not doing 9/11.
Okay,
So
well
now that
then
I know you're not, continue.
then we're covered.
Yes.
So you're gonna have to help me come up with a name for this or a title for this episode. I don't even know what to call this. The title that I put in my outline is called The Galapagos Affair, which is actually the name of a super obscure documentary about this story.
Hmm.
That seemingly nobody's seen. I watched a little bit of it earlier today. It's totally free on YouTube, and all the comments were like, "How does nobody know about this? Like, it's really cool." So
Cool.
you'll have to think of a name for this title because we can't use that probably.
Yes, we can. I feel like I learned from last podcast that you can't copyright titles.
I think that is just book titles.
Boo. Okay, continue.
But we also none of this is monetized either, so like who cares?
Yeah,
So there's that.
cheers. Continue.
Um okay. So my story today is going to cover a tropical murder mystery on a remote island named Floriana Island, which is part of the Galapagos island chains. So this story kind of peaks out of the late 20s, mid 30s. That's kind of the timeline we're talking about here. But it
I just like, got the urge to raise my hand like I'm actually in a meeting with you. How do I raise
please
my hand? I have a stupid question. How
tell
do
me
you raise your hand? Of course.
you nailed it.
Um, where are the Galapagos Islands?
They're off. Um,
Our
The
lower
coast of
mainland.
Ecuador
Thank you.
in the Atlantic Ocean.
Atlantic. Got it.
Yep. So, our story, uh, weirdly enough, kind of starts in like pre-Hitler rise in Germany. So I'm gonna
Hmm.
do like a super bullet pointed version of this, where we're gonna start in Germany in the 20s as a backlog to kind of set everything up here. So, quick world history for folks. 1921 is when Hitler became head of the Nazi Party. 1923 is when he attempted to overthrow the Weimar Republic as part of the failed Beer Hall push.
Beer hall poots. Poots.
Poots. Poots.
Poots.
Yeah.
Poots means clean.
I think it's poot.
Pooch.
You're the resident German expert, so
I know, good for me. Pooch. P-U-T-S-C-H. Pooch.
there you
Pooch.
go.
Go ahead.
1924, he is released from prison and had written Mein Kampf, which was gaining traction in American or the German populace. And then he regained the party control and started rebuilding the Nazi Party. 1929 was kind of the inflection point for Hitler. That was like when the Great Depression crippled Germany's economy. And one of the reasons why they were like, we'll go with anybody but what we currently have. And Hitler
Hmm.
was like a great solution to them. So if you were a politically attuned German at this time, you kind of saw the writing on the walls, right? Like you knew where this was headed. This was not gonna claw itself back at this point.
Hmm.
Our main characters for this story are two such personally attuned individuals. One, Dr. Friedrich Ritter, and his partner, lover, girlfriend, whatever you want to call her, Dory Stotch. They were Germans who saw the direction the world was going in and decided that they didn't want to be a part of it and they wanted to kind of pursue more of a Robinson Crusoe lifestyle,
Hmm.
thinking that that would kind of be the way to get away from what was inevitably heading their way, which was obviously World War II.
Fair. Seems like they
Reasonable.
were right.
They were right. Well,
I mean, maybe
um,
they shouldn't have left because they're gonna get murdered,
we
probably.
don't know. We don't know anything yet, Taylor. Don't ruin it.
But also I don't think they were. I think they were probably correct about Hitler. Keep going.
Fair. So they wanted to live a self-sustaining life away from the rest of the world, and they thought to do it on this isolated, uninhabited island of Floriana. Neither of them had ever visited Floriana, but the island was well documented by pirates, whalers, Charles Darwin, and different navies around the world that would kind of use it as a waypoint.
So
So,
funny. Oh, the pirate said it was okay, so I'm gonna go.
well, there's a reason for this. So if you want to get away from everything, this is a great place to go because it was uninhabited. It
Hmm.
had accessible fresh water. The climate was great and very conducive to growing plants. The environment was green. It was lush. There was a ton of wildlife around. It was wildlife that wasn't going to kill you too, which was
Okay,
like
fair.
also a
Thank
huge
you
plus.
for
So it was
clarifying that.
actually a really good spot to do this in. So in 1929, as Hitler's rising in Germany, Friedrich and Dory, they left their home in Germany and made their way to Floriana to establish a homestead on the island. They built a home, they planted vegetables, they raised chickens. They would eventually become known to the general public. And the reason for this was that whalers and other travelers to Floriana had established kind of like a DIY post office on the island where people could just throw mail in a barrel on the north side of the island. And anybody who was passing through, who was stopping there, could stop, sift through the letters, see what was going the direction they were going, and they would just take the mail and deliver it.
It was wild that anything got delivered.
It worked. It actually
It's like
worked
that.
really well.
Yeah, they say that in Moby Dick too. They're just like you just like give letters to every ship you can find and like hope that someone gets it to your family.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
What else are you gonna do? Uh, so again, this ended up working pretty well because people would stop by, they would meet the two, they would give them supplies, and then these actions of these people kind of stopping by as a waypoint on this island kind of turned Friedrich and Dory into like international celebrities. In 1932, motivated by the fact that the Nazis had now won 37% of the votes in the Reichstag, and inspired by media reports about Dory and Friedrich, the Whitmer family, who was a husband and wife and their one son, decided to, you know what, we're gonna uproot ourselves as well and go live on this island too with these guys. And
Oh
they
my
had
God, I'd be so
set
mad.
out. Yes, yes, that's literally the next point.
I'd be
So
mad if someone bought like built a house in the lot next to mine.
Yeah, 100%. One of the comments, so you're right. These two groups of settlers didn't like each other, which I'm going to go into here in a second. But one of the comments I read about this whole issue was imagine, sorry, it was something along the lines of the fact that these people got into like a massive dispute in a fight with each other while settled on an isolated island that was totally uninhabited is the most German thing in the world. I was like, yeah, sounds right.
It's also just
Well,
like super inevitable. Like, the fuck? You can't just move there. Someone already lives there.
so as we're kind of alluding to, like the original two settlers obviously disliked that this family, the Whitmer family, were setting up shop there. They basically told him, go on the other side of the island. Just leave us alone. Get away from us. We never want to see you. And they agreed. They went to the other side of the island. And despite tension between the two groups, they were mostly respectful and just kept to themselves and just gave each other kind of a wide berth on this.
How much space was
Eventually,
between them?
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Eventually, Margaret Whitmer, the wife, gave birth to a son named Rolf in a cave that they had been occupying on the island. So now it's two groups and six people on the island. By the way, they tried to get Dr. Friedrich to help with the birth. She was 4 months pregnant when they moved to this island. Can you imagine Juan coming to you when you're like 3.5 months pregnant and being like, let's give up everything and go to this island?
No. Can you imagine being like, why don't you have your baby in this cave? First, that's one point. Also,
Yeah.
like, I'd be so mad also if the people came with a baby. And I love babies, but I'd be like,
No,
you
I
want a
share your
fucking
sentiment.
baby?
Yeah, I share your sentiment.
Yeah.
So they actually asked the doctor, the only doctor
Well, sure, he has
within.
to help. If he help, he has to help.
No, he refused. He was like, just go give birth on your own. Yeah, he was like, oh,
Well,
yeah,
I mean, he kind of. Oh, okay.
I
Okay.
mean, he literally left civilization to not work,
No, I know
and then
that,
they
but I
showed up with a
mean,
pregnant woman.
I'd be really mad. But
Yeah, what are you gonna
continue.
do? So there's a happy, there's a quiet but happy-ish tension that is going on the island at this point, but people are mostly just getting along with what's going on until 1933. So this is 4 years after the original settlement, a year after the new settlement. A
Hmm.
third group of settlers arrived to the island. This is where things go haywire.
So
So
annoying.
this is a group of folks. It's Elisa Weirborn, who arrived on the island with her two lovers, a guy named Rudolph Lorenz and Robert Philipson, along with an Ecuadorian servant named Manuel Valdiviso. So she was the boss, and she came with these three guys, basically.
Are they all German as well?
I'm gonna get into that.
Does Germany
So
own this island? Can you keep going?
no, Germany has no. There's no claim to this island.
Oh, is Ecuador on the island?
Ecuador owns the island now, but back then, no country laid claim or ownership to this island.
Got it. Thank you.
So this group really wasn't like the others. So first off, I called her Elisa Weirborn. That's actually not what she went by. She went by the name and title of Baroness Eloise Weirborn de Wagner Busquat, and she posed as Austrian nobility. She was not
Sounds
nobility.
terrible. She's the one that came with the three dudes.
Yes.
Okay.
She would claim she came to Floriana with the ambition of developing it and building a large luxury resort on the island, which is like the exact
So
opposite of what these
annoying.
people wanted.
Yeah.
She was described as loud, brash, disrespectful, somebody that lacked all boundaries, and just generally just the kind of neighbor you just don't want to have around.
Yeah.
One thing the other settlers had done was write about their day-to-day lives and then leave them in that barrel I mentioned to you before, the little mini DIY post office on the north end of the island.
Hmm.
And those would get picked up and published once they reached the mainland. That's how they became like international celebrities, basically, is just through
Hmm.
that means. Um, Over time, the other settlers noticed that publications that were being dropped off for them didn't include stories about their exploits, about their lives. Instead, the article would be about Empress of Floriana Island, which was this Elisa a woman, as she had kind of styled herself.
Oh my God,
That's
I'd be even more mad.
so she was taking their letters out, destroying them, and then replacing them with letters of her own, saying that she's the empress of the island. So Elise and Robert, so Robert was one of the two lovers. They would also take to regularly beating it and just generally abusing Rudolph on a semi fairly consistent basis. He was like the third in the throuple. They would do this to the point where he would run away to the Whitmer residence seeking refuge before eventually being coaxed back to the group, usually by Elisa. Until on March 27th, 1934. So a little less than a year after they arrived to the island, Robert and Elisa basically disappeared from the island, and we literally to this day have no idea what happened to them.
Are they the
So
original ones?
no, the Elisa is the part of is the ringleader of the third group,
Got it.
who
She's
came
like
with Rudolph and
the
Robert.
Baroness.
Yes, she's the
Yes.
Baroness.
Okay.
So Margaret Whitmer told people that Elisa had come to her that morning and told her that her and Robert would be catching a ship to Tahiti that day, but all their possessions were still on the island. No ship was going to Tahiti that day, and no ships had stopped on Floriana either. Dory, who's part of the first settler group with Friedrich, she would claim that on this day she heard screaming somewhere on the island, incessant screaming throughout the island. The obvious question is, so where was Rudolph, the abused thruple in the group? Right after this happened, Rudolph apparently caught a ride on a small boat operated by some Norwegian fishermen, and they were headed to San Cristobal Island, about 45 miles east of Floriana. The idea was, the conjecture is that Rudolph was trying to island hop his way eventually back 600 miles over to Ecuador to catch a flight and go back home. That's the prevailing theory. So he
Hmm.
so he catches a ride with his fishermen to an island that is directly east 45 miles of Floriana. Instead, him and the fishermen are found 100 miles north of Cristobal Island on Marcheni Island, and a fisherman off the coast of Marcheni Island found essentially their mummified bodies. Marcheni wasn't
What?
habitable because there was no fresh water sources. And so they
Hmm.
literally died of dehydration and they just mummified after several months of being on the shoreline, essentially.
Wow.
We don't know what happened to that servant, Manuel, that I mentioned earlier that came over with the Baroness, but seemingly he was nowhere to be found. It was assumed that he just caught a boat back to Ecuador because he was actually Ecuadorian and just lived his life, and nobody knows what happened to that guy. You look like you have
Right.
questions.
No, I feel like good for him, even though he maybe murdered them.
We don't know. Yeah.
But they were like being really mean to him, right?
So we don't probably, I mean, they were beating the shit out of Rudolph, so they were probably being mean to the servant, and Rudolph was in the
Exactly.
relationship. So
Yeah.
So after Elisa and Robert had disappeared, and before the discovery of Rudolph's body, another mystery hit the settlers of this island. Friedrich died of food poisoning. It was said that he had eaten a very badly preserved chicken, which kind of almost makes sense, but for the fact that Friedrich was a lifelong vegetarian and didn't eat chicken. The chicken was there for the eggs and feathers and things like that. It wasn't there for him to consume it.
That's hilarious.
Secondly, Margaret Whitmer was there when he died with Dory. So Dory and Margaret were over him when he died. And she would recount that this is her recollection of the events when the moment his life passed. The he that I'm going to refer to is Friedrich, and the she is Dory. This is all being reflected by Margaret. So this is the quote. Whenever she came near him, he would make feeble movements as if to hit or kick her. He looked up at Dory, his eyes gleaming with hate. He wrote his last sentence, quote, I curse you with my dying breath. End quote. His
That's a great last words.
he goes, he goes, his eyes filled with a wild, feverish flame. Dory shrieked and drew back in horror. Then he collapsed soundlessly, falling back on the pillows. He was gone. That's Margaret's recollection of the exact moment when he died in front of her and Dory.
Wow.
So eventually, Dory would go back to Germany and claim that Rudolph killed Robert and Elisa, and that the Whitmer family helped him get rid of the bodies, and also that Friedrich died of food poisoning. That's her story. And like in some ways, it's kind of plausible because it was well known that they would beat the hell out of Rudolph, and Rudolph would only be able to seek refuge with the Whitmer family and like just go into their little cave and they would take him in.
Right.
The Whitmer family would stay on the island and eventually build, you know, a Galapagos Island version of a hotel. I looked it up. It's basically like little houses and cottages and stuff like that.
People love that
Um,
shit. Yeah.
yeah, and so they would build that. They would cater to tourism. Margaret would claim that the story about them going to Tahiti was true, so she stuck with, "Hey, they left for Tahiti. We have no idea what happened," and
Hmm.
also that Dory killed Friedrich. Apparently, to this day, if you look on TripAdvisor for Floriana Island, the Whitmer family, like their descendants, they still like own the lodges and they own the tourism industry on this island. Like they have boats, they have shit, like they do all kinds of stuff, scuba diving trips, all that kind of stuff with
Hmm.
tourists here. Dory would die, I think it was 1945, and that's it. Like there's nobody knows why Rudolph ended up on this island completely out of the way of where this fisherman was supposed to be going.
Hmm.
Nobody knows really the last whereabouts of Manuel, the manservant. Nobody has any idea where Robert or Elisa are. Their
Hmm.
bodies were never found, and nobody knows if Friedrich was killed or died of food poisoning. It's just like they're all gone. Nobody knows.
I feel like the lesson here is don't be annoying,
Yeah, yeah, they
you
would have
know?
been fine if that woman hadn't shown up. They would have been fine. Everybody would have just kind of lived a quiet peace. But yeah,
Hmm.
or
I
actually,
guess,
the lesson here, Taylor, is like when you're doing cool shit, don't tell people you're doing cool shit.
yeah, that
Somebody
really,
will always want to try and come over and try to get a piece of it and fuck it up.
that's 100% it. Like, don't tell people what you're doing. Don't, people are going to try to come and be like, oh, it's actually just imagine her coming off off a boat being like, oh, it's so quiet here, but like yelling it, you know? I mean, like, fuck,
So one
it's
story that
terrible
they
as
told.
is
So
here.
this is the 1930s, right?
Hmm.
Modesty changes over time, and the way they would describe Elisa was she would be out like in the cove where ships were passing, like almost naked, with a whip and firing guns in the air for like the sailors to look at her.
So annoying.
Meanwhile, this woman's giving birth in a cave next to you.
Yeah.
One of the other two, they had to pull their own teeth out of their mouths because they had no health care for dentistry and build their own metal teeth that they shared the whatever it is. What do you call those? The fake teeth dentures. They made
Ew.
metal dentures that they had to fake. Meanwhile, this girl just like naked running around shooting guns in the air. And it's like, yeah, that's fun for like a night. And then after like the second, third, fourth, fifth night, like I I'm trying to take care of my hands. Also, there's another story I read that was really interesting, which was somebody had recounted that the Friedrich and Dory settlers, they had a donkey. And what happened was that Robert let the donkey out in the middle of the night and like kind of ushered him over to where like the Whitmer family was sleeping. And he like
Hmm.
stomped their vegetation or did something like he messed some stuff up.
Hmm.
And the father, Heinz Whitmer, shot the donkey in the head and killed it. And it was because he was like, "Oh, it must be like Pharaoh. Like, why is it doing this?" They didn't know that like this guy like riled it up and did whatever. Like,
Hmm.
just that kind of people. They just need to like grate other people. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Isn't that fun?
That's so fun.
So the movie, the documentary that's on Netflix is called The Galapagos Affair, Satan in the Garden of Eden, which is like a super fun title.
Overreacting a
And
smidge.
apparently a movie just came out like a year ago or like it just is finishing production or something. I don't know anything about it. I didn't even watch the trailer for that, but I think it's called Eden. I think the movie is literally just called Eden. Hold on, let me look it up.
That's hilarious and so. I see it. Eden.
Oh no, it says 2024, so like literally just.
Yeah.
I don't even know if it's been released yet.
Jude Law's in it.
Oh wait, okay. So the film
Anna de
is.
Armas, Sydney Sweeney. Well,
So it
that's fun.
hasn't.
It's releasing last week. 2 weeks ago?
No, it says it premiered
September
2 weeks
7th?
ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, it premiered, but it hasn't been released yet.
That's fun. Well, that's good timing.
Yeah,
That's hilarious.
yeah, yeah. It's wild. So what I gather is that this Eden film that's about to be released, it is it's like a fictionalization or something. It's like
Hmm.
it's like a dramatization. Because
Yeah,
again,
I think you could make it like a horror movie,
you can make it a horror movie, yeah.
Yeah.
Like a lot of this stuff nobody knows because the only thing we know about it is what the two survivors tell us, which is Dory, Margaret, and then it's the letters that were conveyed. Again, half those, to your point, Taylor, half of those were probably lost. Half those
Oh
went
yeah,
into the
100%.
dumpster. Like who even knows what happened really?
Yeah.
Like all you're getting is like you're piecing together a story with like totally inaccurate and incomplete information. Um, but it's so fun. It's so fun. Like I can't like I kind of want to do this.
I'm trying to
Watch.
understand how big it is, and I can't really understand. Is like 15 kilometers across, and I have no idea how long a kilometer is. How many kilometers is 15 kilometers? 15 kilometers, 2 miles, 9 miles across. So you could be like pretty far away from each other.
Yeah, I mean, doing 9 miles, like I mean, I've done that on hikes before, but like I planned for it and like, like you're
Yeah,
not gonna
yeah,
do that
yeah.
like leisurely. Like nobody's leisurely taking a 9 mile stroll.
No, no. Um, well,
But yeah, so
very fun.
it had that, and you look at these pictures of the island, and it is, I mean,
It
it
looks
just looks like
pretty.
paradise. Yeah, like it
I
literally
just
just
feel like
looks like
there's,
paradise.
I mean, yes, and also I feel there's like a lot of mosquitoes there. I do feel
And
like you definitely need a doctor. So if you're gonna do this, you should bring a friend who's a doctor. I think that is important.
Taylor,
Whether or not he,
I don't think there could be mosquitoes there, could there?
we watched the Deadliest Animals South America show, like 72 Deadliest Animals. Anyway, the deadliest is always like a fucking spider or a mosquito. And there's
No,
like
because
spiders
the
everywhere.
thing is, mosquitoes need mammals to
That's what people know.
survive, and from what I can tell, the only animals that are on the island are giant Galapagos tortoises, all kinds of different marine iguanas.
I still think there are mosquitoes
Let's see.
there. I just think you should bring a doctor if you're gonna do it. Basically, is my big thing.
Yeah, it's free mosquitoes. Yeah, there's the mosquitoes.
Okay, well, there's definitely spiders.
You're you're trying to find any reason not to move here.
I just feel like it's all fun and games until you're making your own teeth.
Yeah, that seemed like an extreme move. I feel like I'd rather have rotted teeth than to pull my teeth out manually.
No, I don't. I just feel like, yeah, man, I don't know. I think it's better to get it out. I think you have to get it out, but that
I
sucks.
guess it's a
That's
hard
what
way to
happened
live.
in what's that movie with Tom Hanks where he's on the island and he has to get the tooth out with the ice skate,
Yeah.
you know? Uh,
Did he throw a rock? He tied his tooth to a rock and then threw the rock off a ledge. Is that what happened?
no, he used an ice skate because he had an ice skate from the FedEx
Oh,
packages.
you're right.
But you
Oh,
have to get it
so
out because
bad.
toothaches are like the worst. You can't do anything.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. It's tooth and back pain. Those are the two that kill you. But anyways,
Maybe, but yeah.
that's the so if anybody wants to find it, so there is a documentary. It's actually again, I didn't watch a lot of it. But
I think I've
Kate,
seen it.
Kate Blanchett is like a narrator of it. Like
Yeah.
it's like a well, it seems like it must be a well done documentary, and it's on YouTube. It's totally free, and just Google on YouTube the Galapagos affair, and it'll come up.
I'm turning on the. Oh, that's stupid. There was a trailer, but it's like not a real trailer. It's a concept trailer. It's dumb. Who cares? Minority Fair, Inside Eden. Fun. That sounds like a fun movie. I'll watch it.
Yeah, yeah. That's all I got today.
Cool.
What do you got?
Um, oh, this is an amazing. Wait, let me show you this. Did you see this image from the movie? Can I share my screen with you?
Yeah.
How do I do that? Where is it? Chat, share screen. This picture of Anna de Armas as the Duchess, I assume. There's like two guys holding her as she like gets onto the beach.
That is probably exactly how it was.
That's so funny. I love
Yeah,
it.
I assume the guy in
Um,
white is Rudolph because if you look at the real pictures, Rudolph looks like someone that is given wedgies in real life.
oh, even this picture, Jude Law definitely has these metal teeth. Oh, I see him. All right. Well, that's exciting. That'll be fun. Cool. Well, thank you. That was fun. My story that I will tell you in our next episode, I found because what they want to tell you is our friend Kiara, who is a longtime listener, found a book in her little free library, like in her neighborhood, that was like greatest disasters in history, and she took a picture of the table of contents and sent it to me, which was very nice and
Thank
fun.
you.
So my story that I will tell is from that table of contents, and there's some other ones in there too.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Anything else before we wrap up?
Um, oh no, I just also was reading. I'm just reading this Reddit page about this movie Eden, and I just read the sentence, um, just that their characters pulled out all of their teeth. Oh,
Yeah, I
okay.
kind of left that for the end. But that was a
That's a
big
lot.
part
That's a
of it.
lot. I think that might be worse than giving birth, and I don't know. I feel bad saying that, but I think it might be worse.
I don't see the metal teeth. I'll take your word for it.
Because you like recover from giving birth. Anyway, thank you everyone. If you have any ideas for us, if you see Eden or the Galapagos affair, let us know. We're at doomtofailpod@gmail.com and doomtofailpod on all the socials and our website, doomtofailpod.com.
There's
Pod.
no way this guy made his teeth look the way Jude Law look. He didn't indent the metal and like make them look like real teeth.
This is another thing where you're like,
It's
look
scarier
how
to do the
shiny he
real.
is.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
sure everything must
scarier
have
to
smelled
just do the
so
real.
bad.
Just do the real story. It's freakier to do the real story than a lie.
I don't know. You don't know what his teeth looked like, do you?
Yeah, it's true. It's true. It wasn't gonna be good.
No, no.
Anyways, doomtofailpod@gmail.com. That's all I got, Taylor.
Cool. See you later.
Sweet.
Thanks.